Welcome everyone to IsisParenting's Sleep Support Webinar and Chat. My name is Nancy Holtzman. I'm here outside of Boston, Massachusetts at IsisParenting's home office, and I am a mother-baby nurse educator, board-certified lactation consultant, and board-certified in pediatrics, the mom of 2 older teenagers. With me today, as she is every Tuesday at 12 noon, is my friend and colleague, Meg Casano. Meg also is the nurse, pediatric nurse, sleep specialist, and mother of 4 beautiful young girls, and she co-leads our sleep program and our sleep team here at ISIS. Today, we're going to talk about slightly older babies. We're going to talk about the transition from the crib to the toddler bed, and when, why, and how you may decide it's time to make that transition, and then some considerations and steps to make it both safe and effective. So I will allow Meg to begin the presentation, and please do continue to put your questions into the Q&A box down below, and I'll follow the chit-chat box as well. Great. We've got a nice crowd here today, and we have our RJ representing the dad. He was woken up by his toddler, who did not make the transition to the toddler bed last week when they tried it out.
Uh-oh. All right, thanks for the introduction, Nancy, and thanks for joining us, everyone. So we thought we would start by talking to you a little bit first about when. So if you're this is on your mind and you're thinking about, well, should I, shouldn't I? When is a good age to transition? And, the age of your child really does matter. If you are thinking of transitioning your child before age 3, got some serious impulse control that's lacking. Even if your child seems pretty cool during the day, she's talking a lot, she seems like she's really getting the hang of life, forget it. As soon as the tiniest bit of if any upset, discontent, trying to do something she doesn't want to do, and it all goes out the window. When toddlers get upset, they start only hearing about every third word you're saying anyway. So it can be difficult for kids under 3 because they don't mean to forget and get out of their bed and look around, but you are such a strong attachment to them. There's almost nothing you can do. As my co-team leader, Erin Evans, likes to say, almost nothing you can do that's more appealing than trying to come out and look for mom and dad. And so a behavioral approach to teaching your child how to stay in their bed that would work brilliantly for a 3-year-old in just a matter of nights, very pleasantly in almost all cases, is sometimes lost on a young 2-year-old or 2.5-year-old. So if you can make it as close to 3 as you can, you're going to have a lot more options for problem solving and teaching your child how to stay in their bed. With the young toddlers too, more safety issues. Sure, a lot of toddlers, if they do get up, they just come straight in to find mom and dad, or they just call. But some toddlers are a little more adventurous, and you need to, make sure that they don't have access to water, toilets, stairs, windows. So that can be a real issue too for a young toddler who has free range while mom and dad are unconscious, asleep themselves down the hall. In addition, your toddler's biology may work against you. Sometime between age 1 and 3, your toddler's circadian rhythm or biological clock shifts about an hour later. So, your toddler who was having this smooth, nice, awesome bedtime at 7 o'clock and keeping that midday nap may continue to keep that nice, strong midday nap, but their bedtime actually needs to shift later. And it's hard to predict when this is happening. And if you're not sure about the bedtime, it can be hard to ask your child to move into a toddler bed at the right time. So again, kind of waiting until that 3-year mark, things tend to be settled in scheduled wise and a little more predictability. In addition, we know clearly through research that toddlers really benefit greatly from a daytime nap until at least age 3. But if they come out of their crib and they have the opportunity to get up and fight their nap, which they can become quite good at, they can withstand that daytime sleep pressure for quite some time, they may stop napping prematurely. And again, your options for problem solving are a little more limited. Okay, so if I haven't convinced you, if you're on the fence, do try to wait until as close to age 3 as you can. At least try to get past age 2.5 before making the transition. Here we have some cute little pictures that Nancy's Twitter followers have sent in. Okay, so when you decide the time is right for your family, you have a little bit of prep work to do before you make the actual change to a big bed. The timing has to be right, your toddler's daytime schedule and bedtime. So you might want to revisit the toddler sleep and nap patterns webinar. Remember, your toddler has to have enough time in the evening to rebuild their sleep pressure, increase their sleep drive so they can fall asleep quickly and easily at bedtime. You also need to make sure that the room environment is perfect. It's nice and cool, very dark, quiet. Having a little nightlight for comfort or safety if you're concerned about your child getting up is fine, but it does have to be very dim. So you might want to take a look at the environment webinar to get some perspective on how dim is dim. And then wait until you're in sort of a period of relative calm. I wouldn't do this the same couple of weeks you're starting potty training or transitioning to a new school or move to a new town, or the same couple of weeks you're having a baby. In fact, in general, you try not to make the move about the baby, that it's tempting to want to say, oh, the baby needs your crib or something like that. But try not to make it about the new baby. When it's developmentally appropriate for your child, it is because it is, not because of a baby or something else that's going on. Okay, so other prep work you might have to do would be room safety considerations, side rails, stair guards, cords, outlets, furniture, tip guards. I mean, the sky's the limit when it comes to childproofing. And so if you have any questions or concerns, this is a great webinar for you to go check out. Some more great pictures from Nancy's.
Because remember that, yes, these are wonderful. This is the same boy in his bed and out, and I wanted to point out that whether you're converting the crib and the crib is now the toddler bed on the floor, or you're moving to a twin bed with a side rail, or whatever it is that you're doing, remember that you have what I like to call free-range toddler in the middle of the night. They will not stay in their bed all night long. When they know they can get out, if they are awake at 3 o'clock in the morning, you will feel a tap on your shoulder. They may decide to go downstairs and make some Cheerios. They may decide to put in a DVD. They may stand at the top of the stairs. They may not stay in their room. Your options are becoming more limited, and so some people do need to resort to putting a gate at the door of the child's room in lieu of closing the door to keep the child contained safely in his room. That also means then that the room needs to be completely child-proofed. And this is the situation you commonly find when you have the 18 or the 22-month-old who's prematurely out of the crib and is roaming the room at night.
If your child, we're going to talk more about crib jumping, but yeah, Nancy's right. Having a barrier at the door, it may be preferable to a lot of families than actually physically closing the door, and may be preferable to a child too. Okay, so your prep work, now you want to set up your new bed. Whether you're going to be converting your crib to a toddler bed, whether you're going to be getting a new bed, a mattress on the floor, a twin-size bed, a queen-size bed, I mean, don't overthink it. It's not a big deal. Your child is going to be probably, maybe not in the same room. You're going to have your same loveys and all. I mean, it doesn't really make that much difference if you want to convert the toddler to a toddler bed for a little while and then go to a big bed, or if you want to go straight to the big bed. Like I said, don't overthink it. Don't get stressed out. This is a very natural, normal progression. Set up your new bed or mattress in your child's room. Or if you're just going straight to the toddler bed, you'll just make the conversion one day. Involve your child as much as you'd like. You might help them select new, or they might help you select new bedding. Maybe this is the time when they pick out a pillow for the first time. Generally introduce a pillow when the child's old enough to be asking for it. It's not like they have to have a pillow to sleep better. I noticed someone talking about sleep sack. This may, yes, be the time that you transition out of a sleep sack if you have kept your toddler in a sleep sack through the 2-year-olds, which I actually think is a great idea. So you can also, and a lot of people read too, well, is there a certain number of days that I have to set up the crib and my child has to look at it for 3 days before we start putting them to bed in it? And no, it doesn't have to be that exact. If you are calm and cool about this, then your child will be too. You might want to start, like if you're thinking that your child might be ready to transition and you have a bed or a mattress set up in the floor, you might want to start to try some naps in the bed first. Day sleep tends to be comparable to the last third of the night. It's more difficult to achieve and maintain. So if you try the naps during the day and they go terribly, it might be your child's way of saying, hey, I'm not quite ready for this. And maybe you pause for a couple of months before you try the full night in the bed. You may also want to set up the bed and start doing some bedtime routine in the new bed, and then continue to sleep in the crib for a little while. Again, don't overthink it too much. What's comfortable for your family, what works with your space and your house logistically, is going to be fine. And then right.
Right.
That's right.
Sure, because some people will use the crib mat as a toddler
Then
mattress.
once you
You
have
may not be able
ensured
to have
that
the
your
choice of
timing
having
is
both
right and your environment is
crib
great, your
set
baby
up and the
crib is
toddler
set,
bed.
and your new bed is set up, then you do it. You start your first time offering the crib for, or offering the bed for night sleep for the first time happens at bedtime. In other words, you wouldn't put your child to bed in the crib and then at 3 in the morning move them to the bed for the first time. You might also choose to make your bedtime 15 minutes later for the first 2 to 3 nights to increase your child's sleep pressure or sleep drive, increase that feeling of sleepiness without causing major overtiredness, to make sleep come more quickly on those first few nights. You'll want to sort of think about if you need to revamp your bedtime routine at all. If you want to change, if you have some more baby elements, maybe you want to change to more of some toddler elements. You might want to watch the toddler bedtime routines. This very predictability, toddlers like things that are kind of rhythmic, counting, touch, ritualistic, so that they become very comfortable, and it sort of eases anxiety when you're nice and predictable and you're doing the same steps before bed. You don't want to be sort of harping on this with them all day. You can talk about it briefly the day before or a couple of days before even. You can talk about it briefly that afternoon leading up to the bedtime, but too much buildup and anticipation, like so many things, can create anxiety. So keep it very simple. And then, for the purposes of this consult, we're talking about the time, the location, the bed, the different bed options and environments. But of course, when you actually go to put your child to bed in a bed for the first time, then the question is, well, okay, now what happens if they start getting up? Now what do I do? And a lot of common individual sleep consults that our team talks about would be trouble with getting out of bed at bedtime, bedtime routines that are becoming long and protracted with no end in sight, hopping up out of bed at 5 o'clock in the morning to start the day. And a lot of toddlers might develop some new anxieties, fears, or obsessions with this sort of newfound freedom and responsibility. We've got these little, yep. Nancy? Oh. Yep, I can hear you.
Meg. I think we have a little delay going on. Yes. Can you hear me? We have a little delay. So a mom has asked in the chat room, and I tried to answer her questions a little bit, but it's a classic scenario. I'm wondering what the best way is to deal with a toddler getting up in the middle of the night after they've moved to the bed. Our son gets up after sleeping soundly from 8 to 11, so he's sleeping, part of the first third of the night. But he's only 25 months old, so he's just barely 2, and he's been in the toddler bed for 2 months. And I'm explaining he's not probably going to stay in the bed at night, and he can't be expected to for, who knows, another 6 to 12 months. So her options are to turn the room into the crib and gate the door and do some of the toddler sleep gentle, the checking in and the fading down scenarios, or put the child back in the crib. What would you? This is a typical sleep consult type question.
You're exactly right. It's not that we're not trying to dodge the question, but it's just that developmentally, if you're trying to force this Herculean task onto your little 2-year-old, it can create a lot of anxiety. He doesn't mean to forget and upset mommy and daddy and get out of bed, but he can't help it. It's in his mind 1 minute, gone the next. And in that last third of the night, the sleep is very difficult. So your options are being open to nighttime parenting, where maybe you're going in and spending partial night on a mattress on the floor in your child's room, or vice versa. Your child's coming in, spending partial night with you. Or if it's the bedtime routine that's the hang up, well, that sounds like her baby's actually doing the first third of the night, which is expected. Yes, the trading down of sleep associations, gradually moving yourself out of the room, and the barrier at the door to turn the room into the crib. Those are really probably the best options. Can you hear me, Nancy? Nancy? Oh, okay. Sorry. Okay, so some exceptions to this. Now I'm saying keep your child in the crib as close to age 3 as you can, but of course, if your child is climbing up, or you're concerned about risks of falls, which is a real risk, you can try to prevent this. So, for example, you can of course lower the mattress to the lowest possible setting. You can sometimes find a thin mattress, an ultra thin mattress, which could get you a couple of inches. You could try putting your child in a sleep sack so that it prevents the ability to kind of hoist that leg up over the side. If you have the type of crib like this particular child does, this mom could actually turn her crib around so the bars are facing the wall and the high side is out. Give yourself a couple of more inches. This child looks pretty dexterous. I don't know if that would even help her, but this crib too has bumpers. Your child can use that as leverage to hoist themselves up and over. So anything they can use to climb, stack up, and use as a step to get out of the crib, you want to take out. And then, of course, always a behavioral approach. Just the same way, if you saw your toddler climbing the bookcases in the family room, you would intervene, firmly and clearly with a simple no climbing, danger, and put their leg down. You might have to go and do this over and over and over and over. If your child is kind of a rule follower and, kind of, okay, mom, I get what you're saying, then you may buy yourself a couple of more months. Some kids do climb and they fall once and then they don't try again for a few more months because they got afraid. But if your child, like this little girl, looks like a little Pip, like, haha, look at me. If you have one of those types of children, then, if you have to consider safety, and you may have to make the transition to the bed earlier than you were hoping. Another exception to this, of course, would be bed sharing or co-sleeping families who have never used a crib. And in that case, we still recommend making the transition to an independent sleep surface as close to age 3 as you can for all the same reasons. And that if you do make the transition earlier, to continue to be open to nighttime parenting, especially in that last third of the night, whether it's on your child's floor or on the floor in your room. Nancy, did you want to say more about Mhm.
Meg, can you speak? Yes, can you speak a little bit about because the transition to the toddler bed occurs roughly similar to the time that parents are considering and working on potty training. Can you talk a little bit about the implications of being in the crib until age 3 or a little after potty training and so on?
Don't even go there. Just don't
and
even mention it.
what your
If your
thoughts
child
are
takes
on
it
that.
upon herself to initiate nighttime toileting, that's fine. If she asks to get up and use the potty, it might be one extra trip at bedtime, maybe two. You have to decide. Same in the middle of the night, but you would be all business. It's not, stickers and prizes for nighttime pottying. It stays dark. You are a straight line to the potty. You do your thing, and you go right back to bed. A lot of 2-year-olds, 2.5-year-olds just physically can't hold it for 10, 12 hours at night. So, I just recommend don't even talk about it. Let them go in their pull-up or their diaper. When you start to see dry mornings, that might be the time to think about it. Some kids don't stay dry until they're 4, even 5 years old, and that's okay. I mean, my opinion is, you know what? If they're going in their pull-up at age 4, but they're sleeping through the night, well, they're not gonna, they probably aren't gonna be doing that, in elementary school. And you can, as they get older and you're confident in their bladder capabilities, you can start to do things like take them to the potty quickly before you go to bed. That's a whole nother conversation. But did you have any?
That's, yes, I think also, Meg, as the mother of 4 girls, but yet you are a pediatric nurse, you probably cognitively know, but boys often potty train a little later than girls, and nighttime dryness, particularly for boys, can be quite delayed. So even though a boy may be completely toilet trained and independent during the day, they still sometimes do need to wear pull-ups until ages 4 or 5, sometimes even quite a bit later for some. But I agree with what you're saying. And the other thing to think about is that the crib versus the toddler bed doesn't really make too much difference in terms of potty training a young child, because they're not going to be independent with it at nighttime anyway. A 2 3/4 or a 3-year, 2-month-old is not going to get up in the middle of the night, leave their toddler bed, walk to the bathroom, do their toileting, and get back to bed and put themselves to bed. So whether they're in the crib or whether they're in the toddler bed doesn't make a big amount of difference in terms of nighttime toileting. But I agree, focus on daytime dryness, wearing clothes, and so on. And nighttime, it's just a whole different ballgame. Nighttime is about sleep, and you don't need to worry so much about dryness. When they're deeply asleep, in a deep sleep stage, if they're going to go, they're just going to go. Other things I did want to say about the climbing, because I've for some reason had quite a few conversations with people about crib climbing in the last few days. So all of the tips that you shared in terms of really taking anything out of the crib that could be a foothold, climbing or scaling the sides. I also like a sleep sack or a sleeping bag in there for the older child. Halo Sleep Sack makes a larger one called the Big Kid Sleep Sack, which has leg holes that they can use around the bedtime routine and brushing teeth and so on. And then when it's time to tuck them in, the legs go in the sack and it zips up and they don't have leg holes anymore. So that's an interesting product. And then also, if the crib has rails, making sure that it's not up against something. So I can't tell in this picture, but that red chair that's near the crib, if a child can use a changing table or a piece of furniture that's near the crib to get leverage, that's something else that you do want to.
Can I do it? Oh, okay. Okay. Uh-oh. Nancy, are you there?
You did lose me, but I'm back. Okay, so let's see.
Can anyone hear me?
We
I think we might have lost sound on Nancy. If you guys could type in. Kara, can you hear me? Okay. Okay. So hopefully. Oh. Oh. Okay. Okay. I am going to go on to the next slide, and Nancy can pop back in when she can. Okay, so just finally, in wrap up, other toddler sleep webinars you might want to take a look at.
I'm back, but I'm not convinced I'll stay back. So fortunately, things are up and running.
As you're over the 2.5-year-old mark, if you need some help keeping your toddler in their bed, check out the scheduled check-in approach. Check out sleep and nap patterns. Check out trading down sleep associations. These are all going to be nice, gentle methods for you if you're having trouble with your style and the amount of time you have to spend on working on your plan. I think I hear Nancy. Nancy, are you back? Okay. 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 Mm-hmm. And just my little disclaimer, and any of you who know me, my little Charlotte here on the top, she is turning 2.5 in a couple of weeks, and so she does not meet the age criteria for being in a bed.
I'm just coming back in and out.
So
don't trust me.
In her toddler bed.
I'm not sure what's
at her
on my end.
I said no,
but we are near in the end, so I thought we would take a question or two if we could.
Me, and I finally said,
letting
okay,
you
can try.
You continue on.
And she did. So not saying never say never. She naps in there. She does not spend her full night in there. Right. Yeah, it does, and especially when you always think about that last
because we have a mom, Kate, who's here. She says it's a 2.5-year-old boy. He's very verbal. He's pretty mature in some ways. He's asking for his big boy bed. Is that a good indicator that he is ready to follow the rules?
Honestly, if he's not climbing out of his crib, and
I guess is a question.
You have a good thing going.
Other types of rules throughout the day. Can he remember the rules?
Because then
does that
end up
matter in the middle of the night?
A behavioral intervention, including using a morning wake up sound and using random rewards and the whole positive reinforcement technique, is just so amazingly successful in just a matter of a few nights for a 3-year-old or almost 3-year-old. I wouldn't necessarily rock the boat.
Okay. All right, and then some people are asking about other things that you can do as a precursor. You did speak a little bit about it, but is it beneficial to set up the toddler bed and have that in the room, for days or weeks even before you're going to use it to get them comfortable with it? What about putting things like a pillow and regular sheets and blankets and things like that in the crib as sort of a transition step? Do you think that's beneficial or not really, or not safe? What do you think?
Reading stories, trying naps. I don't want you to feel like there is a rule that you have to do for this. Yes, setting the bed up and having your child get used to it for a few days will probably be beneficial. And yes, adding, for the first time, having your child be involved in maybe picking out bedding or a pillow, not a big, huge pillow, just a soft, small little flat pillow. yeah, these are things that can help, but is the pillow going to make your child stay in bed at 4 o'clock in the morning when she has a normal sleep cycle, wake up and her sleep pressure is low? No. That is about learning the behavior, and that is what you would, that's where you'd be focusing your energy.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and then I think we'll take maybe one more question. One of our favorite twin moms, who's a regular listener of Sleep and Breastfeeding Webinars, has a question, so we have to take that. She says that her husband has a tendency of staying up quite late, 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, sometimes because of work, sometimes he's watching movies. But when he finally comes to bed, the babies, the 15-month-old twins, often wake up. Their bedroom is off the kitchen and dining room, 2 entrances, and I think, although he denies it, he goes into the kitchen before coming to our room. Can we avoid these wakings if he doesn't make any noise? I know, impossible, but if he goes to bed earlier or avoids the kitchen. So she's trying to have her husband take an earlier bedtime and put him on a diet. I would suspect this mom, being very conscientious, probably has white noise machines, so that would be our go-to suggestion, but I assume that she does, and she probably knows, but if she doesn't, we're telling her that when you put your loud white noise machine, continuous white noise machine on, it really should be between the noise that you're anticipating and your child's sleeping place. So if you live on a busy street, that may be between the crib and the window. If you live in a noisy household with other siblings, that may be between the crib and the door to the hallway. So in your situation, I guess you want to make sure that the room stays quite dark despite his comings and goings in the adjacent hallway. And I just wouldn't imagine at 3 o'clock in the morning he's creeping through the kitchen having a stealth snack that he's making too much noise.
But I would say,
but that is a light sleep hour for babies.
He needs data.
Do you have any other thoughts on this?
So maybe you can ask him to stay out of the kitchen for 3 nights. And you got to give it long enough. Like one night, one data point is not enough. I would say at least 3 to 5 nights. Can he change his route, change his habit, figure out something else? And if the night wakings stop at that hour, then, I think that's something maybe you guys need to work out. But beyond, reducing the noise and seeing if it makes a difference, I guess the answer is sure. It's definitely possible that he could be waking them up, and there's no way to know that until you try stopping the noise and see if anything changes.
Of course, it being National Sleep Hygiene Week, your partner, your husband, staying up until 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, whether it's work or watching movies, and then I would imagine he's probably got to be up by 7 a.m. to start his day and help you and the babies and get everybody up and out to daycare and to work and so on. He's not getting enough sleep either, and I bet he's driving on the highway and driving the babies and so on. It's hard, but we all need to try to get our sleep, right? So maybe he can try to go to sleep a little bit earlier. All right, I think we better wrap up. We are here to help you. We have a fabulous sleep team with, I think we have 7 fabulous sleep consultants led by Meg here and Erin, and we're just a phone call away. I think we just took a consult yesterday from the UK, and we've had many international consults as well as from all across the United States. So please do click that link and read our reviews, because I think they say it better than we ever could. Give us a call, and we're booking. We have some slots available for this week. We're booking into next week, and please do come back next week. We will have a topic. I think next week we're going to be talking about naps, how to transition going from 3 to 2 naps, from 2 to 1 nap. Is that what we're going to focus on next week? Yes, and for those of you that are still struggling with getting a nap, we have 2 webinars on that topic. We have problem solving from 6 weeks to 4 months, which talks about helping young babies settle into a nap. They still need help falling asleep and staying asleep. We also have a webinar called Napping in the Crib, so how to help babies learn to take naps in the crib, and these babies would be 5 to 6 months old and then older. And also how to deal with the pop-up nap, which is a 1 sleep cycle nap, a 30, 40-minute nap, when we actually want to help them settle back and get a 2nd sleep cycle so that they nap for an hour and a half instead. So we have those available in the recording section for you. Meg, thank you so much for sharing your information. Thank you, everybody, for coming today. We had a great turnout, and we appreciate your helping spread the word about our web information. On Thursday, it is Breastfeeding Webinar Day. Every Thursday at 12 noon, I'll be flying solo and talking this week about gas, spit up, reflux, and GERD. What could be more exciting than that?
Thank you.
As I like to say, about 90% of new moms think that their baby is gassier than the average baby. So if you do the math, you realize that pretty much every mom thinks her baby is gassier than average. So we'll talk about what is normal when it comes to gas and spit up and reflux and Zantac and so on. Have a wonderful week, everybody. Happy sleep, happy nurturing, and